I'm so happy today to have Representative Jeff Helfrich here. Thanks for
Thanks.
coming, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Um, I wanted to do all your titles because you have so many titles, and it's just cool. I hope I'm not missing anything. You used to be the House Minority Leader in the state.
That is true, but when I was the House Minority Leader, it was always majority minority. I'm like, and I look in the mirror, I'm like, I'm not the minority that a lot of people think about when you say that. I was the House Republican leader and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, and I had a Christine on a while back, so she kind of took that role. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Um, but you also are a veteran. You used to be a police officer. I want to talk about all that stuff.
Okay.
Is there anything I'm missing?
City council member, budget committee.
Okay.
I've done a lot of different things. God gives you opportunities, and whether you decide to walk through that door or not, that's open for you. You can do that. And I have always had the philosophy, we have one opportunity on this earth and let's make the most of what we can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I saw a thing on your website, I think about you have a lifetime of public service, and it definitely seems like that,
Yeah.
with all that stuff. I wanted to start, and this will probably come out, I think the day after this special session ends, but I just want to get your thoughts on it. I talked a lot about on my last episode about the testimony seemed completely in one direction. It seems like it's probably going to pass, but I just wanted to get your take on it, and what are your thoughts on the ODOT?
So
Some people call it the bailout bill.
there's a bunch of different things. I think for me, my philosophy has always been, let's go solve problems. Let's be pragmatic about it. I don't care your politics left or right, but there's a problem. Let's fix it and move on to the next one. And ODOT has a spending problem, and we don't know where a lot of the money went. They have a lot of programs that aren't paving roads. They're not putting up guardrails. They're not plowing the freeway or the secondary highways. They're programs that are about culture and things like that, which is, we have to have and recognize certain things. But at the end of the day, ODOT's core function needs to be preservation and maintenance of existing infrastructure. And what I mean by that, I had an amendment to every one of these bills. An amendment process is I, as a Republican, or I, as just a legislator, can write an amendment to a bill and have that voted on in committee, whether it's up, down vote in there or not. And if we don't have preservation and maintenance, we need to keep our roads at least 60% in good condition, our bridges at least 20% in good condition, because things are going to crumble. Things are already crumbling. And if it's not ODOT's core function to do that, and you can have it in your mission statement and things like that, but it needs to be in state law that says the mission of the Department of Oregon Transportation is to maintain and keep roads in good condition.
Is that not in there?
That's
right?
not in there. No, it's not. It's not in law.
That's mind blowing.
And I talk to people that are there. Oh, that's really good to have that aspiration, but that could affect future funding and future projects. You can't have future projects if you don't take care of the projects that already need to be maintained.
Yeah.
Preservation and maintenance,
Yeah,
you
actually,
have to have that, right?
On the last episode, the mayor of Malala, he said, I forget the highway number, but he said it hadn't been paved in like 25 years. It goes right through Malala.
I think it's 213 maybe.
Yeah, two something. But I was curious, do you have similar issues? Because I was actually just this week talking about Hood River and how, it gets icy every winter, and it's just like, that's kind of one of the only ways in and out. And
yeah, it's a major one arterial, and it has been shut down numerous times by Mother Nature.
Right.
People seem to think you should be able to control these roads and keep them open all the time. Last time I checked, Mother Nature is not very forgiving. When she wants to do what she wants to do, Portland got shut down for how many days?
Yeah.
And we should have more snow plows.
We have like one snow plow. Yeah.
They got more, but you're right. PDOT's their own problem at that point. But
I mean, they refuse to use salt for years. It's just kind of
it's
Portlanders leave their cars on Highway 26. They just abandon it. It's like we get
walk
half an
away.
inch of snow.
I remember that one a couple of years ago where 205 was shut down. But back to your question about Hood River, yes. You've got Highway 35 that goes up to the mountain. You have I-84, which is a major arterial. We don't have a level 1 trauma center. You have one in Bend, and you have one or two of them here in Portland. And so you have to keep those thoroughfares open. ODOT, some ODOT workers came in, and maybe their union people came in and did some scare tactics with the local hospital, saying it's going to be mayhem, it's going to be lawlessness, the roads are going to be closed, just the doom and gloom. And I, as state representative, I have a good relationship with Director Strickler from ODOT. Hey, this is what I'm hearing your people are saying. Is this the message coming out of your office? Because that is not acceptable. He goes, That's not my message. That's not what's being said. We went through the arterials, what the priorities are. I-84 is a priority for snow removal, period, for commerce and safety. And so 7 hours later, he got to the bottom of it. He goes, that is not the message that has been corrected. A little bit late, unfortunately, because it's out there in the ether. And I had to go to another meeting, and it was with the hospital in Hood River, or in the Dalles, which is part of the district. And so they brought that same thing up. It's like, pump the brakes. Here's what's going on. This is what was said. And like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I said, of course, people are going to overhype, maybe misinformation, whatever it is, but it was not the correct information. And so if people don't understand my district, House District 52 encompasses, it goes from the Dalles Dam to the Sandy River, goes up the Sandy River, then cuts into Gresham, goes all the way to Highway 26 up by Kane and in there. There's some offshoots in those roads. I'll get it all wrong at some point where those exact roads are at, but it goes along the north side of the Sandy, or of Highway 26, goes outside of Sandy proper, and then takes up a large portion back to the east, which has all of Mount Hood, Welch's, Rhododendron, Government Camp, all the villages and hamlets that are there. And then it has all of Hood River County, and it has part of Wasco County. So I've got Clackamas, Multnomah County, all of Hood River County, part of Wasco County. So
basically everything east of Multnomah all the way to Hood River.
All the way to Hood River, to the Dalles Dam. And what's interesting, we live in Hood River, and it's faster for me to take I-84 into the Portland Metro to Troutdale than cut up and around to get to Sandy than it is to drive up over 35 and drop down off of Government Camp into Sandy that way. You would think it's not, it's, slow roads, it's twisty, windy roads, but those roads are maintained, and those roads will be maintained. And, we have our industry in Oregon, what people don't realize, and that's affected by transportation, a big one is there is a $17 billion industry when it comes to recreation activities, not just the ski resorts. It is whitewater rafting, it's kayaking, it's mountain biking, it's fishing, all these things you do outside, gyms, all this stuff. And so
that's a lot of Hood River's economy.
That's a lot of Hood River's economy. And it's Southern Oregon. We went down the Rogue River about a month ago and got to see the scenic area down there.
Yeah, I grew up in Grants Pass.
Yeah, that's beautiful country down there.
Yeah.
I will profess that House District 52 is the most gorgeous district in the state. And Senator Bonham will say, well, Senate District 226 is because it can't be in there, that area. I'm like, yeah, but you're all taking pictures of Mount Hood. That's my district. So
it's true. Yeah.
But I want to step back to the district, or the recreation industry is the trial lawyers now have, under this Bagby decision, have basically made it almost impossible to have any type of recreational liability. Insurance companies are pulling out. And so when I say the $17 billion industry is at risk, because there's only one insurance company now that's insuring ski resorts, and their prices are going up. And it's just not the ski resorts, it's everything else that's the outdoor industry. And so if you want to have a rental company that's in Eugene, they called me up just on fire about this. And I said, well, you got to talk to your senator down there, and Przanski, because he's the one holding this up, is they're afraid if they don't have liability insurance, they won't rent the ski equipment. So that's part of their shoulder season business, or the off season business, when they're not renting bikes, renting ski equipment.
Yeah.
So when you think of these things, these regulations and these burdensome things, we as a legislative body can do it, but do we have the fortitude to go against the machine, the status quo? And I think we'll talk about the status quo here in a little bit, just what we talked about, right?
No, that's interesting. I actually have never heard of that. And, it's like every guest I have on here, I ask them at the end about their Northwest story and stuff. It's like just the recreation and nature is like the thing that always comes up. Right. So that's like a huge part of the state economy. And that just seems like if that's at risk, that's a huge issue. And I'm glad someone's keeping track, because I'd never heard of that. That's crazy.
Think about that for just a minute. $17 billion a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of people employed. That's, I go drive down to the waterfront, got everybody out there doing their windsurfing, kiteboarding, foiling, and winging, and all.
It's all I ever see when I go to Hood River.
Yeah, but you don't see the guys out there that are guide fishing. You don't pay attention to that, or guys floating the rivers, or the gyms, or any sporting type thing. We have to have a waiver. Think about all those things when you have a waiver, or mountain biking. Mountain bike tours are a big thing. Yeah, and across the state.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I know a lot of hikers too. Just the whole economy is around, around nature and recreation, and that's crazy. Is that related to the thing where they wanted you had to get a permit for every
That's a different.
Okay.
That's another tax. That's all that is a tax. So
Okay.
we got sold a bill of goods on that deal. Oh man,
I heard about that, and then they kind of walked it back or something.
they
Or
thought they walked. We thought they walked it
okay,
back, but no, you got to buy a permit for everything.
for every inner tube or whatever thing.
Like
you
I don't
get.
know. I don't know if it goes all the way down to the micro inner tube, but paddle boards
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and that's a fun thing to get out and do. It's low impact. You don't have to. A lot of people, housing today is precious commodity. Storage is a precious commodity. You can only have so much stuff and boats and tubes and whatever else, but these blow up paddle boards, that has excelled that industry, and to get out and explore things and get out on the water. Now you got to pay another tax just to have that.
Yeah.
Come on, people. You already
Yeah.
paid. There's already a hidden sales tax when you buy it anyway.
Yeah.
So we're already getting taxed.
It's true. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just going to say on the ODOT thing, like by the time this will probably come out in a couple days, this episode, but it'll probably have passed. I mean, just what's your takeaway from that? Like what should people expect? Just higher gas prices and
You're going to see 6 cents higher in your gas prices. You're going to see higher registration fees. You're going to see higher fees to get your learner's permit, your driver's license, your commercial driver's license. All that testing is going to cost more money.
I know there's a payroll.
Well, now let's get to the payroll thing here in a
Yeah.
minute. They've doubled the payroll tax, so it's 1 to 2.2, but that's still money out of your paycheck that you're paying. Your employer's not paying it; you're paying it, and it is, I think, disingenuous when you have people paying the same amount in Eastern Oregon to pay for stuff for TriMet when TriMet's a failing organization. They're talking about closing lines. They're talking about laying people off, but yet they want to make a bus-only lane on 82nd Avenue from Coley all the way down to Clackamas Town Center.
Right.
They're going to take a lane, 2 lanes away. But I thought the Max Tracks was going to take care of that. Light rail is going to, you don't have as many buses. It's more friendly. It's electricity driven. It's not going to get diesel into the air and the emissions. Oh no, we have to have more bus lanes now. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we talked about this last episode too, and I always bring up TriMet ridership's been below 2019 levels since then, and they, in my opinion, they pour all this money into it to try to decar the Portland metro area, get people out of their cars, but it's just like like you said, it's kind of a failing mission because for public safety reasons and other reasons, like people are not riding, and it's also we're in this remote work economy, which contributes to that, and I think it's wrong to just force people to say, "Hey, get out of your car and get on the bus or the Max," and if they don't want to do that, why pour billions of dollars?
So one of my stops when I was at the Portland Police Bureau was the transit division when Portland Police Bureau administered the safety contract, the law enforcement contract.
Sure.
Helped start the mountain bike program, got to ride out at the bus mall, the drugs and all that stuff. Bus mall, great arrest. It was fun. It was good time. Police work, we were doing good things. And then the transit, then they put in the west side going out to Hillsboro, going all the way to line out to
blue line.
I don't remember what it was. I think was it Forest Grove one too, or Hillsboro was the
Yeah.
last stop out there, and they put that in, and then they're going to put the line into the airport. I remember looking at the director trying to you really think grandma and her suitcase is going to load up on the red line or whatever it is to go up to the airport? I know somebody's gonna say it's not the red line, it's the blue line screen. I don't know whatever the airport.
I think you're right. It is the red line.
But the one that goes up to the airport, and I'm like, I don't think they're gonna, and they didn't like that. They didn't like that message. But what I noticed was, especially depending on the areas, back before cell phones, you had pagers. This is a throwback to the early '90s. But like bus stops were associated with drug activity because the little gangster or the drug dealer had a pager, and there's always a payphone right next to the bus stop or somewhere in there or by the place. And they go make the phone call, hey, I'm here, and act like they're waiting for the bus to come by and make their drug deal and move on with themselves. And so there was a criminal element to it. They cleaned it up, and then all of a sudden people got mad. You shouldn't have police officers. You don't have to worry about paying for things. The Federal Square stuff. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's that weird expectation of not paying. And also it's kind of like, I talk about, I've said it on so many podcasts that, they did that study, I think Washington State or something, but in the Portland transit system, there's meth and fentanyl residue on like every Max train and bus. And, and that's a huge reason why people don't get on there, but it's just, I don't understand. I like, my last guest and you, I don't understand why in this bill they just insist on putting all this money into TriMet, which gets a lot of federal funding anyway, and they're kind of propping it up. It seems
but what it does is we'll go back to the status quo. We'll go back to influence, go back to lobbying. There are organizations that support my Democratic colleagues that push the green energy, push the get out, let's walk, let's bike, let's do these things. And cars are evil.
Right.
They are evil. And that is how they're able to get members on that are funded by those groups to get them to vote for the transit, because that is part of a larger global influence within the West Coast.
Yeah.
And buses are good things. I rode the bus. When I go in Court or the Max train, just because I didn't feel like paying for parking at the time or whatever it was. It was convenient, but sometimes it wasn't.
Yeah, it doesn't always work out. Yeah, there's a couple things I was going to ask sort of related to that. I did want to ask about this real quick because I saw this on Oregonian about, I was just reading it this morning to get the numbers kind of correct, but during this special session, I saw a thing that I don't know exactly what you call it, the per diem cost of people showing up for these.
Right. You get per diem. So you have your regular, it's like people, when I go like knock on doors and campaigning, we make all this money from insider trading. I'm like, I don't make any money from insider trading because I have no control of any of that.
Yeah.
It's like $33,000 or $35,000 a year is what you get.
People, reps don't make a lot of money.
They don't make a lot of money, but you do get per diem when you're down there. You do get your mileage back and forth when you drive.
And that's what I was going to frame it as. I know this is all like a technicality because it's written in law, but they had a thing as like a 4-minute meeting cost $10,000 to just kind of check in.
They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, I kind of blame that on the people who, put this special session together and are trying to get it through. And now they have like this member that has health issues that they can't do it. But it just seems kind of silly that we're spending money on people doing that. And I didn't know about that. This is the first time
Yeah, they had that. It's like $187,000.
Yeah, $180,000. Yeah. And that just seems like, come on, after, the first failed session and now this, it just seems kind of silly. But yeah, I'm curious about what you were just saying, because we were talking before we were recording about, remind me what it is, the climate
protection program, CPP.
Yeah. And I had never heard of that, so I was just fascinated to learn.
I think people understand cap and trade, and they will understand that greenhouse gases, emission controls, coal is bad. You got to go to or you have to go to natural gas. Oh, all of a sudden natural gas is bad. Now we can only have solar. I always point to the Columbia River because we've got a great river system that has these batteries, which is called these holding pools, which is the water. And that's the first green energy. They say that's legacy. I mean, legacy. Why is that legacy? Well, it's not true green energy anymore. Are you kidding me? And so it's like, how about we become more efficient, effective, and upgrade these dams and have these generating systems that are running at peak and be able to produce the energy that we need? Because there's these batteries, these pools of water are batteries, and it's just a big battery, and you need more power. More water goes over the spillways, generates more energy through the turbines. Yeah. And so they want to take out the dams, the salmon. There's all these confluting things that come together that everything's bad. And then, solar farms aren't that great. These wind turbines aren't that great. The true only thing that's going to save, I think, and power our economy when it comes to the electrical grid is going to be nuclear energy. Yeah. But everybody doesn't like nuclear energy anymore. Yeah. They've had it in Europe. They've had it in Japan. They've had all these things that have worked well. Unfortunately, there's a group that doesn't want to do that.
And it's one of the only ways that seems like it would keep up with the appetite of, AI and all this crazy energy consumption.
Yeah, AI is huge. They take a lot of energy. Yeah.
And it's just also, even that aside, it's like there's been these campaigns of like energy use for years, and it just, regardless of all that, every household just keeps using more. And I'm not blaming people. I'm part of that. Yeah. We have all these devices and stuff, but it's just like, to keep up with that, nuclear seems like the obvious answer, but you're right. There's opposition to it.
You can put them on. They make small nuclear power plants, the generating plants that are the size of a shipping container, basically. You can daisy chain them together and do it. And there's even a point when Google was in my office, they wanted to put them at a different taxing bracket and usage fee and make them pay more for the electrical rates. And what people don't realize is when Google or whoever comes in, they negotiate a contract. And by negotiating the contract, this is what they'll pay, but this is then they know how much they're going to pay. And then if you have a city that owns their own utility, that they can bank on that power source. This is the contract. They know what their income coming in is. So then they can figure out how to build up more infrastructure for whatever things there are. And it's just good business sense. Well, Google there's a bill that I say Google, could be whoever, just one of these large
Facebook
users.
Or Meta or whatever.
Yeah, one of these large farms, these data centers, and they're like, hey, this bill isn't good for us. We're going to, this is a bad thing. I said, just go move over to Washington if you have to. Go build your new facility over there, because obviously Oregon doesn't want to, play nice, go somewhere else. I mean, I don't want to see that happen, but until the majority party realizes that these policies that they're putting in place are hurting our economy, just I can name them all off. Or I said, here's the other part, just go buy one of these little nuclear reactors and set it up and plug in and call it good. He laughs. That's not a bad idea. I'm like, I'm sure they'll make a law that says you can't do it. You have to buy public utility.
Right.
It's like, come on. I mean, it's like, we don't do a good job of taking care of the businesses that we have here. When we recruit the next one coming in, then you have Intel that just laid off 2,400 people.
Yeah.
Then
I did a bunch of posts about Dutch Brothers. I grew up in Grants Pass where it used to be. And I made this whole thing about they could have retained that company. Like, in my opinion, if they would have made efforts at the state level, with regards to regulation and all these different things to keep them here. But you see this exodus of corporate HQs and all these for those reasons, for regulations and taxes.
The not cap and trade, but the CAT tax, corporate activities tax.
Yeah.
So just if you make over $1 million, you get taxed at a certain bracket, and you have to pay more money. It's another tax, the sales tax on doing good business, and it's on before taxes, not after taxes.
Okay.
And that fund was supposed to take care of schools.
Right.
Well, we're going to fund schools with it. Well, we don't have enough money for schools now.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
It's like every single year.
Every single year, let's fund schools that they need and be done with it. And they come back for more.
And guess what? They're 49th or 50th.
They're the bottom 5 of the nation.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. And so it's just the tax system and the corporate activity tax that's there, and these companies are leaving. And I was on the semiconductor committee a couple of years ago, and Business Oregon and other organizations gave us a roadmap on how to recruit chip manufacturing. We have Intel here. We're the Silicon Forest. Here's how you recruit. Here's how you're going to get these, what they call them fabs. They gave us a roadmap. Well, somewhere on that dais, there was people that thought they were smarter than the experts, and they went off the rails, and we about lost everything. And I started chiming in. I said, when there's uncertainty in the marketplace, businesses will not invest. And I brought up housing. I brought up our land use laws. I brought up that if we are going to recruit these businesses, we need to show that we have good schools. We need to show that people can live here on the wages that they're getting paid, and yet the company can still make money because they're not a charity organization. They have investors they have to pay. This stuff isn't free. This isn't a communist socialist network. Some people would like that, I think, in Portland. There's a philosophy there but that's not the way our economy works. And I said, that's uncertainty in the marketplace. And lo and behold, Intel lays off 2,400 people, and somebody chimes in on one of my web pages or one of my posts that I had about there. That's going on worldwide. I'm like, yeah, but we took the biggest hit because why? Because there's uncertainty and it's not affordable for people to live here. And you have the NIMBYs, not my backyard people, that don't want this or don't want that. And our land use laws get so tied up, it's so antiquated. And I'm not saying do away with Senate Bill 100, but Tom McCall, when they came up with that, didn't foresee what was happening here now.
For sure.
And we live in Hood River. So I was a city council member in Cascade Locks. That was the beginning of my political career, like in 2008, I guess it was, just trying to help budget committee and planning commissioner. And then that we had several things that they wanted to have. The Warm Springs tribe wanted to put a casino in. Shot down. People in Portland, not in my backyard, can't have it. You know what you're doing. Nestle Water Project, water that's going out of a river into the Columbia, then goes to the ocean. They wanted to bottle it. That would lessen their company's carbon footprint. Well, back in 1950, they did a bad thing with this and that, and the milk thing. I'm like, God, that was back then. They just want to bottle water and get it to people. You may not like bottled water, that's fine. Let's have that discussion, but let's not do what you're doing, because you'll support breweries that use 8 gallons of water for 1 gallon of beer, but yet you want to take all the water and just bottle it. Anyway, so they've had these different opportunities, but the NIMBY people don't want it in their backyard. They don't want certain things to happen. But when you're in the National Scenic Area, not only do you have to worry about what the National Scenic Area is, which is this area that's been designated in 1984. It's National Scenic Area. You can only develop within the urban growth boundaries or your boundaries that are labeled for growth outside of that for your reserves. And you're hemmed in. There's other places that are like that too, that are just hemmed in, that can't use
you
their
fill
land.
that up and you're done. Yeah.
And they want to say, well, like 1,000 Friends of Oregon. We need to do infill. You have enough property within the urban growth boundary to do these things. Well, let's look at that. Kind of swampy there. Can't build in the swamp, because I'm sure there's a spotted frog that says you can't, because the environmental impact study.
Yeah.
Or you're going to build on a side hill and it doesn't pencil out. but that side hill has to be what they would call density housing, apartments. Well, it doesn't pencil out because the way it works is going to cost too much to make it work right. How about we swap that density housing out for a flat piece of ground over here, and then you can use this, that would be they'd say McMansions, but smaller homes, individual homes, single family use homes. Oh no, this is designated that way. You need to keep it that way. Well, then you can't develop. Well, sorry. So you don't want growth. You want growth, you don't want growth.
I don't know. Did you see that there was a fantastic, I think it was from the Oregon Journalism Project, but it was on Willamette Week about, it was the old Eco Northwest guy, I think.
Yep.
And I was like, my mind was blown reading that, because I'm like, this guy is like spot on with all this stuff of like, we basically had decades of this anti-growth mindset because people were coming here, but now people are not moving here, and also people are not having kids.
Yeah.
And like you were mentioning earlier, we don't have an education system that's exactly appealing for people that want to move here, which is hugely important for growing your economy. And we don't have the job like we were just talking about, our job sector is really struggling.
Look at all the manufacturing jobs. Jen Weld has moved to, I think it was one of the Carolina states. You had Keene that moved out.
I know a guy who, he's been on the show, but he moved his whole operation to Utah recently because he could save a ton of money just from moving the headquarters.
There's six sawmills or logging operations. The mills have left Oregon, I think, over the last 2 years. And some of them relocated to other states because it's more business friendly. And yet we talk about sustainable building practices and everything that we want to do with housing. Cross-laminated timber, you can use some of these smaller trees, use that growth, create this glue laminated timber, whether it's sheet or plywood or actual beams, and build homes with our own product, clean the forests up, and sit there and reduce fire risks.
Right.
Oh, we can't do that. Can't have logging now. People, you're killing our economy. And let's walk back to the spotted owl. I remember that. I didn't live here then. I lived in Colorado where I grew up, in Nebraska. But the spotted owl was, they killed the logging industry. There's 2 mills that set in Cascade Locks. They had 2 sawmills there. Spotted owl. Well, now all of a sudden, 30 years later, they found out it's this different owl that's killing the spotted owl. It's not the logging.
Yeah, I had Ed Deal on here a while back. He was telling me about that. There's like this other owl that's eating the spotted owl.
Yeah, it's some barn owl or whatever. Yeah, it's like.
And it seems like, that when you kind of weigh the costs of both of those, it's like, I don't know. Our economy right now is just real bad, and especially with manufacturing and stuff. And I always tell people living up here in the Portland metro, it's like it literally is mostly government and nonprofits like that. There's not a lot of private jobs, and it's sad to see. But.
For me, I was hired in 1992 with the Portland Police Bureau, and then retired in 2017. And so I saw a variety of different things that happened. Protests. I was on the mountain patrol unit, mountain bikes. Like I said, I was sergeant in charge of our special property crimes investigation unit, a sergeant in charge of our school police division, then went on to the personnel division, hiring and recruiting, and ended up east and northeast precincts just before I retired.
Yeah.
And so I got to see a lot. I saw the gang violence that reduced, the drugs that kind of reduced a little bit, and then prosperity when the Northwest Portland, when the Pearl District and South Waterfront, that expansion, and then government changed. And I think one of the things, kind of side note, when we talk about these protests and all these things that go on that have changed the city, is I firmly believe that the police officers are the only government officials that can take somebody's civil liberties away. And that's true. You can handcuff somebody. You can actually, when I was a police officer, you could actually go arrest somebody, put handcuffs on them, not read them their rights, not tell them what they're arrested for, seize everything, take them to jail, and they wouldn't know anything until 3 days later, and they saw the magistrate, saw the judge, see what was going on. You have that authority to do that. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't usually happen that way. It doesn't, but you could. My concern was, and still is, and you're watching it right now, is that you are seeing your elected officials at the city level and the county level using their authority to do social change. And it's not that they're telling people to take them to jail, they're telling them not to. And this is social engineering, where you look back to the George Floyd events and those riots, 100 days of riots, you basically had the mayor like, don't do anything. Let them have the street, let them have this. When I was on horses way back in the day, the protesters didn't get to go take over the streets. They didn't take these things over.
I've talked about the mounted patrol in here before, and I'm like, it's a huge tool, or it was for that.
You and your best friend, those big old butts, you can move a lot of people. You can
Yeah,
move people.
nobody's gonna mess with a horse, you know.
They
So,
tried. I mean, they'd throw tacks on the ground. They tried to take me off the saddle and other people and pull on the reins and stuff like that. And
wow.
it turned. There's they're peaceful protests. Why do they got brass knuckles and knives in their pocket? I'm looking down. I'm on the horse with them. They're trying to pull me off. It's a violent protest.
Yeah, and I mean they got explosive fireworks and all this.
It's escalated, right?
Yeah,
Everything's escalated, and it's escalated to the point where there was a decision was made to. It was like during the Occupy Portland event, the 1% thing or whatever it was.
Lonsdale Park.
Yeah, Lonsdale and Chapman Park and all that. And they turn around and let them have this, let them have the bridge, let them have the streets, let them have this, let them have that. And that was a decision made by the mayor at the time. We'll just let them have it. We'll let them vent. It'll be fine. Well, this peaceful protest, that's the anti-police march, and then I get thrown into a TriMet moving bus and get punched. My helmet's broken. I get sucked up into the dually, and it just was bad.
Jeez.
It was a thing when we're trying to keep people on the sidewalk, and then traffic. You got moms and dads just trying to get the kids to soccer practice or get home, and you got these hooligans out there taking over the street because they're just peaceful. No, they're not. They were violent. During the day, the peaceful protesters are out there, but at night, it is a bunch of misbehaviors causing mayhem.
Yeah, and it's still that way.
Oh yeah, they get water bottles, they freeze them, they have white. It's funded somehow. But I know that we're on a different topic, but yeah, we're kind of going.
No, I mean it is topical too because there's also I don't know if I've talked about it on here before, but there's a lot of conversation about the ICE facility here, and I remember the last time that happened, and it was the same type of thing. It went on for months, and there was a huge mess left after. The people had to clean up, and the residents were bothered. The businesses were bothered. We saw a school this time that had to move.
Yeah, right now, but you're not seeing it on the news media. Why is that? Oh, they don't want to show. They don't want to say anything's going on in Portland. It's going sideways. There is. I don't want to say it's conspiracy, but there is, I think, a concerted effort to not show certain things and do this. Where there was a lawsuit that for one of the tenants that is
Cloud,
just getting driven crazy by what's going on there. Well, she should just move because that's not a good place to live. It's the only place she could live.
Yeah.
What
a horrible message for a city too. It's like, sorry, there's no legal recourse here for you except to just get out.
We're going to be like Seattle, create the CHAP zone. Hey, this is acceptable behavior in this little square foot area because we don't believe in what's going on at the federal level or what's going on at this facility just because they enforce immigration laws and we're going to let you continue to have mayhem. Let's knock it off, people. The law is the law. We are a country of law and rule and order. Let's act like it and let's take care of business. If you want to protest and you have a message, great. But if you think you have to resort to violence or assassinate somebody like we watched last week.
Well, I was going to bring up, Charlie Kirk, just in the sense of, I did a little Facebook story about, kind of how we were just talking about, like Portland is a home to political violence in a lot of ways. When I used to work for KGW, I was attacked by Antifa, the people we're talking about. And it kind of changed my whole perspective because I had an image in my head up until then that this was like the group Anonymous. I don't know if you remember them.
Oh, yeah.
But I just thought, they're just, they just have a message and they want to. But, they would tell me every single time I saw them, we don't want the free press. We hate the press. Like, we don't believe in that. And they would, assault you and cover your camera, attack your reporter, all that stuff. And
yeah, they came up from Eugene was the epicenter of it. And then they'd move up here. They implanted themselves here. And there's a whole history of it that people just don't want to pay attention to. And
but I think it's important now, like with this assassination, to like recognize that that is a problem here, at least in Portland. For it's been that way for the 20 years I've lived here.
It's a West Coast thing from Seattle to Portland to LA. All that stuff going on right now. The riots. We'll talk about Charlie Kirk just for a moment. He was assassinated. He was trying to have a conversation, and he got assassinated because people didn't like what he had to say. They made all these assumptions and made all these things, but he challenged people in their thinking process, in their thought process. He was stout in his convictions. And yet he was, his life was taken because of that. Did you see any of his supporters go into the streets and riot, burn, loot? No.
Yeah. It's a very different.
It's a different
response from like 2020 and those type of riots. And yeah, it's like, I made a message about it too, because very different, obviously, but I worked in City Hall here for 2 days and was fired just because of like my political views. It had nothing to do with what I did in the job.
Right.
It was just like old tweets that I made about politics and opinions that I had. But I'm just like, I just made this message because I'm like, we need to stop punishing, attacking, or literally killing people because of their views. And it's just ridiculous that, all that guy was doing was literally talking and very respectfully debating people. Whereas here in Portland, we live with like daily violence in the political realm, and it's just so different. It's like,
if you see anything on my social media posts, my Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, or X, very vocal about violence when then candidate, former President Trump, assassination attempt twice we can't do that. We cannot use bullets to solve problems. We have to use the vote, the power of the vote. And if you don't like what somebody's saying, get a better argument, have a better policy. And with this, some people they just said, no, you're just a Charlie fan, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, no, we cannot have violence to do these things. People ask me, how do you like being a state rep? Before this and before the kind of the president, when the assassination attempts, not just the president, but you had the CEO of the healthcare organization that killer was celebrated for killing him. You had 2017, I think it was, the baseball game when they're out practicing.
Right.
That guy, it was a Bernie Sanders campaign guy that went and killed him. You had Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh had death threats against him. All these people that are these conservatives that violence is going against them. It's like, what are we doing here? And then you see all the stuff coming out about the assassin that assassinated Charlie Kirk and his views and his lifestyle and how he got to where he's at. But as a police officer, when I walked up to somebody's vehicle, I didn't know what it was going to be. Assume probably the worst, but we'll see. It's very aware. And in politics, I would tell at the time Speaker Kotek at the time, like, if we just have a conversation, we're better off. I said, there's no blood. There's no dead body on the ground. We're okay.
Right. Just words.
It's words. And people kind of looked at me when I would say that, like, oh, it's kind of callous. I'm like, it's cop humor. So I still have that kind of type of humor, which good or bad, but it is just how you deal with stuff when you see so much death and things.
But now you're seeing that spill into.
Well, I changed my mantra. I was like, nobody's trying to take my birthday away from me. And people, oh yeah, he's trying to take your birthday. Well, what I'm trying to say is nobody's trying to kill me.
Right.
Now I'm not too sure, because you had Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota that were executed and family member and attempted assassination on another. And that was from somebody there. The suspect in that had this no kings flyers and all this other stuff. So it's not the right-wing conspiracy. It's something else that's going on. And when we've lost the ability to have a conversation and dialogue, that's the problem. And for me, it's just like when I knocked on the door as a police officer, as a problem, let's fix it. And that's that pragmatic approach that I've taken to lawmaking or to being from lawman to lawmaker. And, when I was my time as House leader, I spearheaded the reforms for Measure 110. That's a huge thing. There are some people that didn't want to do anything, and we're just going to use that as campaign fodder and show the left can't do anything. It's like, we have a moral obligation to fix problems, and we have to fix this. And we did. And, Ben West, and I'll give shout outs to other people that were part of that, but he helped write that policy where we created our own bill that we thought would help fix this. And this was the best of everything we could find. And then we published it, and people on my side of the aisle, like, you can't do it. We're going to surprise the Democrats. Like, no, we're not. We're going to say, this is how you're going to fix the problem, and force them to the negotiating table. And then half baked and this and that from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. But behind that, all that, there was the theater. But I would sit there and talk to Rayfield. We got to fix it, dude. And this is how we have to go about doing it, I think. And he and I are back and forth. And then we settled on the unclassified misdemeanor. I said, well, we call it the drug enforcement misdemeanor because people couldn't say a misdemeanor, but unclassified is still that way. And here's the secret that people don't understand. When they took the felony out of the drug possession and made it a misdemeanor, think about this for a minute. When you go buy a firearm and it says, have you ever been convicted of a felony crime? It doesn't say misdemeanor crime. It says misdemeanor domestic, but not felony crime. So if you have somebody that's been affected by drugs that is whacked out, and they have been arrested and they're back out on the street, and they can go buy a gun. And you got somebody that's whacked out on fentanyl and go use a gun, and it's okay.
Which we see all the time here, to be honest.
Yeah, but nobody says anything, right? It's the lawful gun owner that's getting hit on this stuff. It's like, wait a minute, you can fix a problem right now. Who wants, how many people have been killed with drugs, and now all of a sudden they can still go buy a gun.
Right. But as a result of
that's how they did that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, come on.
Yeah, and it is a huge problem. I would say, it's like it. I think finally Multnomah County here, and the city's not really on board, but the county has finally admitted that it is an addiction problem. I talked for the 2 years that I've
imagine
done
that.
But even the numbers now are like their deflection centers had like literally like 10 people come through, and they've, it's just like, it's sad because I feel like they're still kind of dragging their heels as to what the real problem is. And I've been, adamant since I started the show that it is an addiction problem because I see it every day.
Yeah. You don't know you have an addictive personality until it's too late.
Yeah, and it's it's also comes with the most addictive drug on the planet is what I call it, was fentanyl when that was introduced. And I'm sure you'd probably dealt with towards the end of your police career meth and all that
Well,
stuff, and
everything.
it just keeps the drug quality and strength just keep escalating.
Marijuana. We can talk about marijuana. You can talk about the marijuana of the 60s is a lot different than the
Right.
marijuana of the 2020s. And when the camel's nose went under the tent and they talked about having medical marijuana, and then you could have small quantities. Now all of a sudden it's an industry and you're taxing it, and you're going to use these tax dollars to pay for treatment under Measure 110, and that didn't happen. And OHA lost $100 million, and so the government's broken. We need to fix it. But the addiction part is huge, and the only way you can get somebody help is when they're at rock bottom or the treatment's forced, and you got to get them off of it. And I'm not saying jail is for everybody. You don't need it for everybody, but there are success stories that people have been able to get off the drugs without going to jail. But if you can get somebody cleaned up for that 30 to 60 days, that's a big deal. They can see what's going on.
Yeah. And I've had the Multnomah County Corrections union woman here, Nicole Busher, and she talked a lot about that. How she views that as a huge opportunity to help people get it clean from their addiction. And yeah, it just seems like Portland consistently misses like that window of like when people want it, because the whole thing here is like people have to arrive at that conclusion on their own. That's part of, I guess, the Oregon commitment law maybe as well, and how strict that is. But yeah, it just seems like they're getting closer, but they're not really like realizing that.
Like these residential treatment facilities, they didn't want the big ones. They didn't want, like Namish and things like that. And so, I can tell you a story that happened down on Division, but these residential treatment facilities, people go there for mental health issues or drug addiction, whatever it is. And they are supposed to take care of be on their medications and things. Cause we do know that when you use drugs that will alter your mind, and then that causes mental health issues. It just does.
Yeah.
Period.
Psychosis and
everything happens. Yeah. And so when you have these people that are in these residential treatment facilities that aren't locked down, that can freely roam around, decide I'm not going to take my medication today, but I'm going to go out on the street corner and get self-medicated because I like it better that way, then that cycle starts all over again.
Right. Yeah. And that's the same with like our, I don't know, some of the detox centers and stuff we have. Like people will kind of sober up for a day and then they'll get out and hit the streets again. And, but yeah, it's really interesting. I wanted to see.
I know we're kind of jumping around, but no.
It's all good. Let me see what I got here. I did want to ask really quick, or just get your take on, I wrote on here, I would love to see, this will never happen, but like an anti-lobbying law specifically for these unions that I've talked about a lot on the show. Like the one, I think it was SEIU that wrote the unemployment striking.
Yeah, hey, you're going to get
paying employed people to strike, basically. Yeah, but I'm just curious on your take on like this. I talk about all the time how unions have this power in the state unions. Full
disclosure, I was a union member for 25 and a half years plus especially when I was with the Multnomah County for that little minute that I was there before I became the state rep. And unions have their place.
Yeah.
Unions have to make sure working conditions are good, make sure the wages are appropriate.
Although ironically, I'm sure you're familiar, people hate the police union.
Oh yeah.
That's totally different.
You're not a real union.
Right.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Well, you have collective bargaining.
They love all unions except that one.
Except that. And they like the firefighter unions. Everybody loves the firefighter, but the police unions, they hate. It's like, come on, knock it off. But because they don't subscribe to some of the stuff that they do, these social changes that they want. And so the unions, they do have a lot of sway in that building. And I think they got served a little bit of reality check when they had a bill that didn't pass when it came to transportation. That was a reality check.
Yeah.
So SCA was like, wait a minute, it didn't pass. We're having to lay all these people off. That was smoke and mirrors, just like city council here in Portland. If you don't have passed this levy, police and fire services are going to go away. It's going to be mayhem. Why are you always cutting public safety first? Why are you cutting the workers out of ODOT? Why don't you cut administrative staff instead of working staff? Mm-hmm. People that are plowing the roads. Get rid of that middle management, the upper management that's not doing the job that needs to get done, maintaining the roads and fixing the potholes. Do that.
Yeah.
I had a meeting with ODOT people in Cascade Locks, the great people there, just great people. And the union person was there and he was hammering me. well, you're going to vote yes, you're going to do this, you're going to do these things. Look, I said, we have different options that we can do. I said, we can take $5 million a month and put it out of the e-board and pay for this and keep everything going until we can actually have a conversation and not make it a political conversation when campaign season runs around. Because if you look at the cycles, it's all about campaigns and staying in power.
Right.
And or the governor set aside $357 million for wage increases and COLA. Unions, why don't you guys, instead of knowing your fellow union members are going to get laid off, agree to no pay increases when it comes to wage increases, but COLA, cost of living, and then we can fill those holes. And then in 2 years, we can turn around and get an actual process done in the next election, in the next long session.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was leader, I kept talking to the governor like, hey, we need you to step into this. We need you to work into this to get this going. And there was some reluctancy for a variety of reasons. And I said, in order for us to actually have a transportation package, all three branches of government have to, or the two branches, the Senate, the House, the legislative and the executive branch have to figure this out. You have to step in and get the right players at the table, have a Mahoney Hall type of event when they had the restructured, I think it was the unemployment or your injury, workman's comp thing that they had going on. It was a while, it was long ago, long before my time in politics. Have that type of event where you basically locked in Mahoney Hall until you get it figured out, hammered out.
It's like a sweat lodge or something.
Yeah, it's like or the conclave.
You're not coming out until
get the conclave going until which smoke's coming up the chimney.
Right.
We got a deal. No deal. Got a deal. Right?
Yeah.
But you have to get all the parties in there, and because everybody's having a bite at this apple that wants all these things. It's like, no, you can't give all these gimmies. What is the core function of ODOT supposed to do?
Yeah, it's like we said earlier. It's
preservation, maintenance.
And it seemed, even I made this clip from last time I was watching some of the testimony at the state, and they had and I said it last time, I'm not trying to put this woman on blast, but they had this woman who works for ODOT who does social media, and I found her salary is over $100,000 a year, and I was just thinking, like, how is this related to infrastructure at all? And it just seems like that's kind of what I see coming out of the pro ODOT side with this whole session and stuff of like, this isn't going to roads at all.
It's propaganda, right? Yeah. Hey, this is what's going on. This is all the great things we're doing. All these things. There's a thing called infrastructure. I lost. It's performance-based infrastructure.
Okay.
They do it in a couple different states, 4 or 5 different states: Florida, Texas, Maryland. It wasn't all red states. It was all Colorado did it. And basically your performance is based upon, your wages are based upon the performance. The union wouldn't like that, right? Well, wait a minute.
Right.
Wait, but it's not everybody, but if you have these performance measures and they're met, whether it's the contractor getting on time, well, hey, you get a bonus in that money because if it goes longer and longer, we know costs increase and stuff like that. Same thing.
And we see that a lot here.
Yeah. And then the other part is, when it comes to these projects that they're doing, it's performance based. And if you're not performing, you might have to go somewhere else and find another job.
That seems like that should be
right.
across the board, right? Like,
I know I'm going to throw this out there because my back to basics approach, to basics army, right? We got to get back to the basics. What matters? Potholes matter? They don't want to pay more to use a road that's already been, there. They want the road fixed. They don't, if you're going to charge somebody to drive on the road, build another lane if you want to go fast. They do it in Colorado. They privately funded, E470, which is the east side of C470, with with private dollars, and it's a big loop around Denver area. And so I remember in school, that's where I grew up at, was outside of Denver, but they talked about this big thing encompassing all the way around Denver, and that everything kind of infill, and it's done a great job. And
is that kind of an example of what we were talking about earlier of like when you have an economy that has these great companies that see the great school environments and all this, and they come in and they have that money to be like, we're going to invest in this transportation project.
Yeah, they let the local has a lot more control. It's not the state controlling everything. They have a different taxing structure, obviously, but it's the local control, and they're able to get what they need, the money where they need it. But Colorado has an agricultural industry in the east, and it's really everywhere, but they also have mineral industry. And so, not only do you have copper, silver, and gold, but they have natural gas. And so that's a commodity in which they can get money. It goes into the state coffers. We got this thing called a forest that's an
Right.
economy
Right.
that you can build stuff with. Everybody needs it.
Yeah, it
We're
is.
the largest Christmas tree grower. Like, come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
people.
It is kind of wild to like that there's such pushback against the timber industry because, you know, I was born in the 80s and I grew up in a timber town, and it's just like that was the state economy forever
Mm-hmm.
until maybe the past few decades or
Yeah.
so. But it's just wild that there would be opposition to that because it's a regenerative thing that we can use to stimulate the economy and drive our economy.
Right.
And if you don't do that, it's kind of
And you can
stupid.
biomass for using for electrical generation. There's all these things that you can do. And there's a company here that actually, I don't know if they're still here or not. We looked at it when I was in Cascade Locks, but they can take all the garbage and put these little pellets, and these pellets can be burned. It's burned clean, but it'll generate energy. Huh. That's interesting. But no,
Because timber's bad.
timber, you replant
I mean, that's the
trees.
name of our soccer team, but they don't want
Timber.
to.
Oh no,
don't
they'll
wanna-
let you pose in front of the log with an axe, but boy, you can't log the timber. It's like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, it is kind of silly. I was going to ask you too, just about like, do you have any thoughts on like midterms 2026? I'm bringing it up because I just feel like, and it's probably the silo that I'm in with people I talk to, but I just feel like there's like a real unhappiness with the state legislature and the supermajority.
Yeah.
And do you see anything change in there?
So when I was leader, we had our polling, we had our data that said these are the districts I believe we can win. And unfortunately, in 2020, when they redistrict stuff, they made it so it was hard to do that. You could
Right.
just get close, but not that close enough. I am that anomaly. I am that buck the system person. You know, I flipped that district that's normally was a 7.5 voter registration Democrat or Republican.
Okay.
I flipped it by 12. And so I made up that 7.5 and won by 5. So that's a big deal. 12.5 flip.
Yeah.
And this last go around as leader, I still flipped it I won by 3.5. So you're still at 7. So I flipped it by 8 because the voter registration creeped more towards Republican and conservative or non-affiliated or independent. And quality candidate matters. And people just want to see, whether it's your senator or your representative, just go to Salem and go do something, and not the political rhetoric of all the time. Like, they're bad, this. It's a mindset. How do you then have that conversation and get something done? And I'll go back to my time with Measure 110 or campaign finance reform that I was on, or the housing stuff that I was there. There is room for good policy. But if we talk about like the short session, I remember if we stop talking about guns and abortion, told that to the governor, the Senate president, the Speaker of the House, we can actually get some stuff done. But if we start talking about their special session, I'm not sure, I can't guarantee you what's going to happen. But we have these issues that we need to deal with. And 110 was one of them. Campaign finance reform was another one. And I'm proud of what that is. And I think to answer your question about the midterms, I honestly believe that with what we saw with the assassination of Charlie Kirk and everything else that's going on, that yeah, whoever holds the office is going to be a bad year for him. Well, they said it was going to be a bad year when President Trump was on the ticket, and I still won. We still won races. So I think they're finally awake at some point. Wins enough is enough. I mean, I listened to a senator that was a Democrat. It sounds like more of a Republican. I hand him a voter registration. Hey, here's change your voter registration. I couldn't get elected in the district. I'm like, come on, dude. It's just.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess maybe I said the question wrong, but I don't even think in the national Congress, I'm just saying the state. It seems like the people are uniquely upset with the state legislature here.
Oh, absolutely.
And forget about national Congress. It just seems like people are just like,
but the influence, but here's
the
where
state is floundering. Like we need
but,
change.
But here's the thing is that national influence with those races, the Democrat held seats that come up again in the congressional seats that come up, and even the Senate seat that comes up, Senator Merkley's seat,
right?
That influence at the national level comes in, and that's a down ticket effect.
Sure.
So that's where they are pissed off at the state government. So
Right.
do they like the top of the ticket, the bottom of the ticket? What's going on? Trump's not on there, and so how do we do this? I'm sure they're going to put a picture of Trump next to me in my campaign.
Yeah,
whatever.
it becomes a proxy vote.
It's a proxy vote, right?
Yeah.
So, but if the message is out there, you're out there communicating and telling people where you're at, where you stand, the basics, people want to have a safe home to come to. They don't want to see a drug dealer, somebody, doing the business on the sidewalk like that, sleeping or defecating. That happens, right?
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. It's like, how long can people tolerate lowest ranked schools, lowest ranked economy, like all this? I don't know. It just
And it's
seems
okay. It's okay to say something too. I think people have been conditioned not to say something because they'll get pushed down. Like you said, you got fired from City Hall because of your posts, right?
Yeah.
They're worried about that. Oh my gosh. Well, look what happened to these people that celebrated the assassination of somebody and they got fired and they're losing their mind. They're crying about it. It's like, What do you expect? Be a normal human being.
Yeah.
Be a human being.
Yeah. And there's a whole conversation there that's happening right now too about like, people, I see that as like apologists for murder and assassination. That's very different from, I was just taking political positions on like actual issues and policy. Mm-hmm. But it is still, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. The whole thing's kind of ridiculous.
Mayor Wheeler, I have been a staunch critic of his. He wanted to have his 9/11 moment. I called it when he's out there during the protests. I hear you. We're with you. The George Floyd stuff. And he got steamrolled.
Pepper sprayed or whatever. That's what you're talking about?
Well, not just that, but he showing up at his house, showing up.
Oh, right. They tried to light his apartment on fire.
He shouldn't be subject to that. But then he switched tactics. But, the new mayor, I think he bit off more than he can chew. He sat there in front of me in the dais and talked about there's a debacle happening out in East Multnomah County with Water Bureau project. It was a $500 million project. Now it's $2.13 billion.
It's like on hold, and
it's not on hold anymore. They're back to building.
Yeah.
And your water rates are going to go up. People that watch this, guys, just watch your water bill's going to go up. They bonded all this. You're going to be paying for this for the next how many decades? Mm-hmm. But yet Gresham dug some wells, put a big facility in and said, Portland, we're not buying water from you anymore because it's going to get too expensive. And then that burden shifts. And what I don't understand is they're going to make this the world-class facility. They could have just done a filtration project where it was just UV and filtration. That was it. Not this whole mega project to make it the shining star to show the rest of the nation and the world this is how you do water treatment in this property that they bought back in the 70s that has no physical connection with the city of Portland. It's out in rural Multnomah County. It's ruining orchards. It's ruining the livability of that area. And yet that's where their headquarters is going to be. So now all of a sudden, if you work for the Water Bureau, you got to go live out in Shangri-La and East Multnomah County and not have to worry about riding Max in. You're going to drive your cars in. There's not, or are they going to put a bus or train out there? Whatever, right? It's this hypocrite stuff that, why are you spending that money that way? You could have done the same thing, filtration project over at Powell Butte or somewhere else along that line that wouldn't have affected people the way it is in the prime farm ground. Because by golly, we can't change the farm. We can't use high value farm ground for housing, but it's okay to destroy the farm ground for a pipeline. Yeah, that's wrong.
Well, and now I'm just like kind of stuck on your performance. What did you call it?
Performance-based infrastructure.
Performance-based. Like if that was implemented in every level of government, down to the municipal, up to the state, like that just seems like that would solve a lot of these issues.
It would solve a lot of issues where the money's going.
We're not rewarding over bloated projects that are way over budget.
We're rewarding bad behavior, not good behavior.
Yeah,
it's just like raising kids, right? Good behavior gets rewarded. Bad behavior, not try it again.
Yeah,
and it really is to that simple of point. Oh, complex. Anytime you hear somebody say this is complicated, there's more to it than you realize. Break it down to its simplest form. What is the problem? What are some of the solutions to fix it? And then figure out that roadmap to get there.
Yeah.
Have the fortitude, have the internal fortitude to do it, but don't intellectually be dishonest with people about how they're doing the business or why you're doing it. When I say intellectually honest, don't lie about it. Be intellectually honest.
Yeah.
Not dishonest doing it.
Yeah. Man, it seems like, I kind of, when I was younger, like in my 20s, there was this era of transparency, and it seems like that kind of came and went with government. Because now it's kind of obfuscation and kind of, I don't know, just misdirection.
Hidden in the data.
Yeah.
Hey, we're so transparent at the Portland insert whatever. You can go to our data page or landing page, and you can sit there and see this dashboard and this and that. And like, I need a PhD in to figure out how to run all these numbers to get the actual number. Homicides up or down? Crime up or down?
Right.
Is crime down because people aren't reporting anymore?
Yeah.
Probably.
I was actually just thinking about that, because I was going to ask you about, a little bit more about your law enforcement past. But that is something that, it just drives me crazy here because, a lot of what I would call the activist news organizations here point to hey, crime's down in Portland. And
is it? No, it's not.
But I hear from business owners all the time, and they'll bring it up to city council and people that when you have this culture of reporting stuff and nothing happens, you get a bunch of unreported crime. And is that kind of your experience?
Yeah, no, it's like, I'm going to try to find the stat real quick, but I think when people don't have a police officer show up, they're like, well, why even call, right? Yeah. There was a post that talked about the crime rates. Where's it at? Portland ranks second most dangerous city in America, according to the FBI crime statistics. Memphis, Tennessee was number one. Memphis was number one.
I saw that in that, or I saw those rankings, and is that are they supposed to be
Cities with the highest total crime rate per 100,000 people in 2024.
okay?
And I got called out on that when I said that, and one of the an OPB reporter, I think it was, ran with it, and then we had a higher spike in murders and this and that, and they these do it, these things this way, and I actually showed them the data later, and well, that's not really what we're talking. Whatever. It's just the news media. If you have a Republican, if you have an R next to your name, that they don't give you as much time
for sure. Yeah,
but it's when we're ranked by the FBI, unless those are fake stats, unless somebody says that, but no, those are the statistics. And people don't feel safe here. They're not going to want to live here. They're not going to want their kid hanging out here.
yeah.
They don't go into the park. I mean, you live on a street that has yet to be paved, yet you're in the city of Portland.
Yeah.
You live on a dirt street.
There's miles of, I want to say there's like 30 miles. Or something.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a police, all right, we'll go back to my police officer days. So I started in 92, went through Central Precinct, Northeast Precinct, and then East, ended up going into a specialty unit, which was the transit division. Had a great opportunity there to not just be in the city of Portland, but around the Tri-County area, wherever trains or wherever the buses went, got to go there. My partner was from Washington County. We got to do drug arrests, robbery investigations, all these things, bank robbers jumping on the bus, all kinds of different stuff. Wherever you're at, you kind of go to that area and go do some police work. And then we moved to different location, but had the bus mall, did a lot of drug interdiction activity, the street level drug interdiction activity, a lot of stuff there. And then went back to precinct for a little bit, went to the Mounted Patrol unit, did that for about 4 years. That was a great unit. You know what? Everybody waved at with all 5 fingers. And when you're on the Rose Parade, all 5 fingers.
I wish it would come back. I remember I was because I worked in the news here for about 10 years. And, it is kind of like I was going to say a second ago, it's 99% left leaning people in the newsrooms themselves. But I remember when there was this kind of pressure campaign against the Mounted Patrol unit. Mm-hmm. And maybe did you experience the end of that?
Pressure campaign was...
It was expensive.
Expensive. That was what they're saying. But at the end of the day, the protesters didn't like it because you could move people, and we would partner with Vancouver and other agencies that had a Mounted Patrol unit, and you put 20 of the big boys out there. Guess what? You could take care of the protest. You would clear them out. They would leave.
Yeah. So that was a game changer. It was a crowd control.
Game changer. It really was. And I remember it was during. Was it the when we went into Afghanistan?
There's some big anti-war protests.
There was anti-war protests where they shut down Burnside. They kind of all run together. It's been a while. Yeah. But I remember seeing a dumpster get lit on fire and rolling down the street. I'm like, you don't see that very often now. It's just commonplace. Right. I mean, we had people from London Metro and the RCMP came in and trained us, taught our horse how to walk through fire. And they said, you guys are going to experience this soon. That'll never happen. No, we'll never use tear gas. The horses went away. Fire bombings came in, and once tear gas was used that one night, that genie's out of the bottle. We can't change that. And then it was effective. And any tools that are effective, the far left in these protests don't like them. They sue, and then they get rid of those tools because their tool of a legislator is down there saying you shouldn't use these type of tools to disperse crowds that are less than lethal, that are an irritant. I mean, tell you what. I've been in there where we've used CS or pepper spray or whatever it is. Once you're away from it, you're fine. But in the middle of it, that's not good.
Yeah.
Well, there's that one person that walked through that was a peaceful protester that got exposed to this, shouldn't have been exposed. Like, maybe you shouldn't have been there. Maybe you should have realized that if you're in that protest, bad things can happen.
Yeah. And
where's that personal responsibility?
Portland's got to the point where basically all of these, except the daytime large ones, are unpermitted. They're almost always unpermitted.
They stop permitting those every time.
Yeah.
And that's gone away.
And they'll take whatever street they want. I've seen protests where they take over I-5, where they get on I-5 freeway, which is becomes a federal felony issue, I would imagine.
No, it's not. It's a state thing, but yet they'll still let them take it over. I mean, I remember whatever protests they were for whatever war was going on at that time, they took over the I-5 freeway and State Patrol came in and just cleared it. We're done. Moving on. And
they usually don't last long once they get on a freeway because that just seems like it's dangerous for everyone. You're blocking transport, health stuff.
Even down when the protest that ended up on MLK, spilling out into MLK, when that one I was injured on, that one tied up, 5 o'clock rush hour traffic. People just want to get home.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, it's having
I'm pretty
protests.
sure I remember that one you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
They kind of walked up MLK and broke a bunch of car windows and that type of
No,
thing.
that was during
That was a later thing.
that was a later thing where that was during when President Trump was elected the first time.
2017.
Yeah, that's when they started.
Yeah.
Yeah, 16 is the 16 November 16. This one was during that Occupy event, and that's when I got really injured, and yeah, on and on and on. So
I was curious when you were just talking about that, like, I'm curious about this complexity of this overlap of, because like you're a war veteran,
yeah.
And when you see kind of these violent protests, specifically with anti-war stuff, how does that? It just seems like such a weird overlap of like.
So I will remember forever watching CNN when we were over in the first Gulf War. We actually had a TV that you could watch that, and I was a dog handler then. And I remember them showing and really highlighting the protests in Portland, burning the flag, all these things, the effigies and all that stuff like that. And I remember calling my dad. I had an opportunity to call my dad. He was a Vietnam guy. And I said, Dad, is it like when you're in Vietnam? He goes, no, the rest of the country's not like that. It's just Portland. Oh, okay, it's just Portland. Lo and behold, I end up leaving the Air Force, coming in as a Fairchild, put an application to Portland, had no idea, and I ended up working in Portland. I'm like, that's a interesting thing. And I remember I was on horses. I was with another officer. He was on his horse. And these people are, oh, we're glad you're here, officer. And I was just stoic and just mashing my teeth. Like, you're not supporting the troops. I'm just sitting there thinking these things and just, yep. Mm-hmm. And I just wouldn't say anything. It's like, if I say something, somebody's going to complain. So I'm just not going to say anything. And then they complained that I was being rude, didn't say anything. Oh, Jesus Christ, can't win. But the guy I was with, he called me out on it. He goes, why are you doing this? I said, well, here's the reasons why. I listed all these things. And I said, because the soldiers are going to see this. I see this. This is when you don't like things, don't condemn the soldier, the sailor, the Marine, the airman, whoever it is. Mm-hmm. Tell the administration, you know what, support the troops. Well, we don't support the troops killing people. Like, you know what, then vote that person out of office if you don't like that, whatever that is. You know, Bill Clinton had a little bit when they had Desert Fox. He got a little bit of heat when they were going to kill George Bush Sr. They found out they're going to kill him when off because Operation Desert Shield. So they went over there, threw some tomahawks out there and some other stuff that was going on. But he even took some heat for doing some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, for all of Bill Clinton's faults, he actually supported him on that decision. Yeah, he had to go slap around Saddam Hussein and said, you can't do these things. You're not going to plot against killing an American president. Right. Either in office or out of office. You don't get to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important though. Just don't go after the individual.
It's frustrating to see it, but yet I served and protected that Constitution, that First Amendment.
Right. Yeah. I would say it's kind of the ultimate form of tolerance, right?
So
you're just there to protect their right to do peaceful stuff.
But don't spit in your face. Don't do these things. The officers, they just want to do a job. And yet you sit there because that's the face of the totalitarianism that you don't like or whatever it is. They go home to people, and they say, well, if you don't like the job, don't be a police officer. We just saw what happens when people don't like or treated, the working conditions are bad, police officers. Recruitment goes down. They go to other places that they feel supported. I mean, you can go to Bend and go work there, make good money there. And they like the police there, even though they're a Democrat, even though it's a California style Democrat that's there, they like the police and they don't want to have the homeless problems. They don't want to have those things. I know Chief Krantz. I worked with him in Portland, and he feels very supported by that city council, unlike what I think you'd feel here.
Yeah, no, it's I hear about it a lot because I know a lot of people at PPB, and they have just struggled so much with recruiting, and it's just like there's so many adjacent places they could go, like Bend. I mean, Clark County, Clackamas County. There's a lot of and out of state, but it's just. I just feel so bad for PPB because it's the most thankless job you could think of.
I will say this. I keep in touch with my former colleagues. There are good people that work there, and there are bad apples everywhere in every career field.
Yeah.
But in the police bureau, they hold people accountable because when I was in the personnel division, I was the guy that went and took people's badge and gun and relieved them of their duty as the sergeant there. Came from the chief, had a little yellow folder and went out. I mean, I walked into a precinct that I had all my friends that were there, and they see me walk in with the gun box and the paperwork that they would see in the envelope, like, who's he getting today?
Right.
So and so, like, oh, okay, because they deserved it. They had it coming. I mean, there's false accusations that you have to clear up. When somebody gets fired from the bureau, it's a thing. All right.
Yeah.
It's not because there are some bad behaviors that need to get corrected. There's people that self-medicated that saw that this PTSD is real. It is. It's not. It happens, and people self-medicate and these things like that. They don't get the help they need, and so there's a lot of stuff that can happen in your life. And my goal when I was in personnel was we hired you healthy. We hired you. You went through psychological battery. You went through all these things to show that you're good moral character and police officer. Some things change sometimes, and you see things or whatever. But I want to make sure when you hit your retirement age, you're healthy too. I mean, a buddy of mine, Dave, had a year on me with the Bureau, a year older than I am. And usually police officers, within 5 to 7 years, they die after retirement.
Wow.
And he died on his birthday in December. And Dave changed the way we do law enforcement throughout the nation when it comes to responding to mental health issues and stuff. Why send the police there that somebody wants to kill themselves when you can send Project Respond or just have somebody have a phone call? Because generally people that are suicidal aren't homicidal, and they don't have these homicidal ideologies. And he changed the thought process in the Bureau, the Metro, and the state and nationwide on how you respond to these mental health issues. And so when they say Portland's progressive in their law enforcement stuff, yeah, they think outside the box. How do we do it better? Why are we sending police officers to these scenes? Sometimes you have to send police. Sometimes you do have to use force.
Yeah. Yeah, because you never know what the situation. And there's a couple things I was going to say. It's like people, especially our city council, brings up all the time that we need more police accountability. I think we have some of the most strict police accountability in the country. I mean, we have this new police accountability board that is, in my opinion, pretty insane. It's staffed with a lot of anti-police people, people who would never even do a ride-along just because of their own background or whatever. But I just wish we had that level of accountability with all our other local government. If we did, things would be so much better.
Oh, think about PBOT, right? So Oregon or the Portland Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
What if they had accountability like that?
Yeah, like if we had that level across the board, things would just function so much better, and we would not have some of the problems that we see in Portland. But the other thing I was going to say is I've had people on the show bring this up, where they think Portland has this consent decree that says we're racist. No. And that is not in the consent decree. It's specifically with mental health issues. And
Mayor Sam Adams invited him to come and take a look. And in the one case, it's been dragging out forever.
It just continues to this day. Like city council members will bring that up, and I'm like, that's not true. That's not in the consent decree.
Here's something funny. So police officers, I remember when we had the body cams, tasers came out, and the taser had the taser cam, you could have a body cam. There was so much resistance from City Hall.
Yeah, it took forever.
For body cams.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because all these claims go away.
Right. So you can kind of call bullshit on
you can sit there and
stuff.
So we used to have before we had the body cams, they had the camera cars, and we park a camera car here and they'd be recording, and they had the officer next to them, and you got to watch the behavior of somebody and how we use that to kind of as that independent third witness. It's because it's the camera view and nobody's distorting this view,
right?
And you can show this interaction. And I remember having somebody, "Are you sure you want to make that complaint? Watch this." And there was people there that would say, well, we want people to come forward, feel like they have a voice, and we wouldn't want to show them that they were actually lying. I'm like, if you go down to LA, for all the faults that state has and that city has, you have to attest and swear that this complaint is true and correct, or you false swearing.
Yeah.
Huh.
No, it is wild. Like because
if you're making an accusation against a police officer and it's whatever, and it's a BS complaint, just because they wrote you a ticket, you didn't like it, he was mean to you, whatever it was. Right. I'm not saying there's things that happen, but if it truly happened, why wouldn't you want to swear to that? Saying yes.
No,
yes.
It's like, I've never thought about it that boiled down, but it is basically, because my friend Kristen from Rational Important talks about that body cam stuff. She testified about it for a long time, and it took forever, like I said. But that is the simplest way to think about it. It's just like, it's basically, they drug that on because it was an anti-transparent kind of move.
It was very transparent, and they didn't want it.
Yeah, we don't want to.
That destroys the narrative. That destroys their narrative that the police are bad.
Yeah. And it also just, to me, it sounds so weird. Like, you guys don't want body cameras in Portland on... But anyway, yeah, that's fascinating stuff. And
yes, they should be able to turn off if they have to go use the bathroom. Come on.
Yeah.
Whatever. Jesus. There's somebody was saying, I don't know if it was in Portland, or if it was another city council member somewhere else around the nation. They debated whether off-duty police officers should have body cams. I'm like, At what
Off
point,
duty?
At what point did you give up your constitutional rights?
Yeah. Are you like just
I mean, you're not in the
a
military.
part of the government permanently?
Here's
Like,
the funny thing, right? So we want these police officers to do everything they're supposed to, whatever we order you to do it. This thing sounds like a paramilitary organization. You don't want to swear out external body armor. You don't want to wear protective face shields or or gas mask to cover our face and all these things like that. You don't want any of that. But yet you want us to do these things here. And so you want us to follow your orders to explicit, but we're not in the military, but we are. Which one is it?
right.
Do you want a paramilitary organization? Do you want an organization that's police officers? Because the paramilitary organization is top down, you shall. The regular police organization is a pyramid upside down where you have all the bureaucrats, everything lines up on top of that officer making that decision in the moment.
Right.
All his training and experience, right?
And
there.
that's all in every Portland election. That's all I hear is we want community policing. And that's kind of what you're talking about there, right? Is the bottom up.
Yeah, when Tom Potter brought in community policing, the old timers, I remember they're talking about grumbling about it. It's not police work. Like I boiled it down to, you're out walking your beat. You're talking to the neighborhood. You're talking to the store owners.
Making relationships.
What's Johnny doing over here? What's Susie over here doing? What are they doing wrong? Oh, this guy's doing the drugs. I see here. Oh, okay. Okay. And then you go arrest him or you investigate. And that's how you develop your information, what goes on, other than being driven by the call. And I think a disservice happened. I mean, they used to have the call boxes and the blinking blue light, and you go in and answer the call way back when, long before my time. But, the radios came in the car. They were more mobile. And then once you got the computers in there, officers' heads are down in the computers the whole time doing these things. And so technology has helped, been more efficient and effective, but you've lost that ability to go have a conversation. And I'm going to go back to the horses because I love that unit so much, was I got to talk to people from all around the world. They just want to pet the horse.
Yeah.
They want to pet the horse.
Yeah.
You can have a conversation.
And it sounds silly, but it is like you're building relationships with
the
community and anyone who's downtown. And
I can't tell you how many tours I did or go to school events or whatever it was. Or this guy, I remember this to the day till I'm gone. But we're up, I think it was Ainsworth Park up there off of Ainsworth. There's a nice park up there, North Portland off of Vancouver, Williams, right up in there. A lot of shootings, a lot of gang activity. So, hey, Mounted Patrol up there, just go walk around, say hi to people. White guy wearing this little hat comes walking through. I can't believe you guys are so racist. What are you talking about racist? Talking to people. Just like back in the slave owning days and the cotton fields, the overwatchers looking at their slaves on horses and just like, I just looked at him. I said, I'm not sure what world you're living in right now, but the sky's blue in mine right now. And we're just out here talking. And a lot of people died in the Civil War to make sure that didn't happen. So you need to check your facts. Just wrote off and he got so mad at me. But
that's wild.
He just, the overseers. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's crazy.
I'm not sure what he was drinking, what he was smoking. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But what world do you live in? And you can say that to somebody that's not true.
Yeah. And most people just like, I would say over 90% of people will just have such a positive reaction seeing Mounted Patrol or anyone on a horse, really.
You go down to
people love horses,
people love horses. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll put this clip in. It's funny. I've been watching 30 Rock again, and they had a thing like that where she's in Cleveland and they have Mounted Patrol, and they're like, "You want to get a photo with the horse?" And then she's like, "Yes." And like,
would you like to pet a real police horse?
Here you know.
I'll put it on the screen here. That's you?
Yeah, that's me and Norman
That's
walking down
awesome.
Waterfront Park, man.
That's Tom Call Park.
Yeah, right there by the
That
Steel
is
Bridge.
beautiful, and that's in spring, obviously. With
Yeah, it
all
was
the
spring. Yeah,
bloom.
that was on a poster, or not a poster, but a calendar way back then. And
Okay,
so,
it's all horse calendar.
Well, no,
Or
it was a different calendar. Somebody's just doing calendars of flowers and stuff like that. Hey, can I take a
Nature,
picture?
whatever,
I had to sign this little thing that I wouldn't get royalties from it or whatever. I'm like, whatever, I don't care.
That is awesome, though.
Yeah.
I had no idea you were on the Mountain Patrol. That's great.
It's the best job. That was the best job I had. I mean, I had some cool stuff, but that was a cool job.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? I have a bunch of goofy questions, but if there's anything else you want to bring up, or I was also going to ask about, like, is there anything Hood River related that's like a big issue right now that's going on?
So, actually, I believe the recreational liability, the ODOT stuff. I think where I show that I'm willing to have a conversation, because you got two opportunities in life. You can sit at the table or be on the menu. I want to sit at the table. I will always make sure that I represent the people of my district and in the state by having that opportunity to sit at the table. You may not like that I sat at the table. You may not like what I'm saying, but we'll have a conversation and it'll be honest dialogue. It's not going to be, well, I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to throw a grenade after this. No, let's have a conversation. And so I think by being sincere and honest and genuine, That's what I believe people want us to do. Go to Salem, go to work, go to work for the people. I was able to secure over the last 2 sessions $125 million for the Hood River Bridge. So this last session secured $105 million. Wow. That got us to the $125 million to match what Senator King did on the Washington side for those funds then matched to get the federal dollars in to fix the Hood River Bridge. That was my commitment to that session. My job was to get that money secured. And it's not coming out of the general fund. It's bonded through lottery bonds. And so they pay it back. But that is infrastructure that matters to the gorge, not just for the economy, not just for public safety, but just in general and whole. Because if you have the Cascadia event and that bridge is not sound because the pilings don't go all the way to bedrock, it's been there for over 100 years. You've got the Bridge of the Gods, and then you've got the Dallas Bridge.
And they're both super old, right?
All of them are old.
Yeah.
All of them are old. And so I was able to secure that. And that was by actually just having conversations and getting stuff done and understanding how to navigate the building.
Yeah.
And I didn't sell a vote. I didn't sell a tax vote, didn't do any of that stuff because it was the right thing to do. People understood it and you have a conversation about it. And so I think if you get away from this partisan politics, it's going to happen. Both sides do it. But for me, it's just, those are those things I think in Hood River that are super important. Like I said, the recreational liability is another one. Got a bill to hopefully get that Bagby decision fixed. Supreme Court gave us a way to do that, but the trial lawyers, they'll lose 30 to 40% of the take when it comes to that stuff and those, because there's the difference between negligence and gross negligence. Negligence is where you skied somewhere where you shouldn't have skied, right? It's just the easiest way is that. Or you're jumping and somebody was in front of you and that person that got in front of you that cut through the course and you got injured, is that the ski resort's fault? Because if it's signage, don't come through here, you're going to the train park, or is it your fault or that person's fault? Well, they usually go after the ski resorts because they have the bigger pockets, more money. Gross negligence, the easiest way to say it is, did the ski operator maintain their equipment as necessary so it didn't cause injury? So you have your ski lift, your chair falls off the ski lift. That's gross negligence because they didn't do the proper
They're not even
maintenance.
maintaining their own stuff.
Right. Or just you go to the gym, you're on the treadmill, and the treadmill, the plastic breaks. Did you maintain the proper increment of making sure the treadmill was in good working order?
Right.
Did you do the required maintenance that's required that they give you to do? Nope, you didn't. That's gross negligence. So there's, I think, the trial lawyers, the unions, and there's some other organizations that really run a lot of this stuff, and it's about keeping things in power. And right now, my hope is it's the status quo changes because the 3 things of government, the Senate president, Speaker of the House, governor, those 3 people control how Oregon works. Not because of Portland Metro, not because of Eugene, but it's because they're where they're from. But those organizations then have influence within those 3 things. And that's how bills get in or out of committees.
Yeah, no, that's super fascinating. And I was looking at the bridge earlier and it does seem super important. Like I've watched I don't know what they call it, the I-5 bridge. They're trying to build
IBR. I call it the Columbia River Crossing because it's failed. And that's
I remember when Kitzhaber was trying to get it through, and it's been like decades. And so, but that's really impressive that you were able to
bonded $1 billion 2 sessions or last session for that project. It started at 4 point something billion. I bet it hits 10 billion by the time they're done.
Oh yeah,
because the project labor agreements and the PLAs and the prevailing wage, all this stuff.
Yeah, all the kind of agreement. What do you call them? Specifications, and then also I know they want light rail to go over there. It just gets very expensive.
And I want to walk back to the union things. I mean, there's a lot of good unions out there that that do good stuff, and I really appreciate them because they're protecting their employees, making sure they're treated fairly. You've got open shops, closed shops. These private unions are doing a really good job, and they've supported me, and I'm going to continue to support them where I can because if you have a good idea, I'm willing to go to bat for you. But if it's a bad idea, I'm like, that's a bad idea. And when you would have these special interests, whether it was unions or whatever lobbyists come in, when they were done pitching their idea, why I should support this, I looked them square in the eye. I said, somebody's coming in behind you and going to say this is a bad idea. Why are they going to say that? What are the downfalls of this? What are the unknown things that could happen, the downstream effect that we may not be aware of that you may, could happen? Like, well, what could happen really? And your good lobbyists, the people that are advocating for these policies that are really good, that are honest and upfront about it, will tell you, here's the pluses, here's the negatives. We believe the pluses outweigh the negatives. Somebody comes in behind them and they say the opposite. Well, somewhere in the middle is like in a police investigation. He said, she said, somewhere in the middle is what actually went on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how I approach stuff.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool. Okay, let me see here. I have a bunch of goofy questions I can get into.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up too, actually, if you want to say anything. I know you're running for Senate, state Senate, right?
Yep. The Senate
Is there anything
district.
you want to say? Is that next year?
So no, it will be next year.
Yeah.
It's 26, Senate District 26. What I've learned since my time in politics, I've lost 2 races, won 2 races. It takes, basically it took 8 years of doing stuff and to be here and show that we can get things done. That same ability to have relationships, to get things across the finish line, to work with people. That's what I want to bring to the Senate. That's where I'm going to be at. I'm not going to compromise on my values that I believe in.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to. Those are those things we talked about earlier. But it takes about 2 to 3 sessions to get something done.
Okay.
Long, short, long. You got to have your work groups. Have to have those things. In the House, it's this fast pace all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Every 16 months, you're trying to raise money to stay in office so you can get your next project done
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I do find that fascinating because I've had a bunch of reps on here, and it just seems like 2 years is like, because you have like 8 months, and then you're focused on a campaign again.
Yeah.
And, but Senate's 4.
Senate's 4 years,
Okay.
and it's just a different pace. It's, for me, growing up outside of Denver, we didn't have a lot of money. Our power got shut off, phones got shut off. Mom and Dad moved from the family farm to live. My dad wanted to work for the government. He was in the military, and Mom had 3 different jobs and stuff. And then I'd go back to the farm and work there. And my great uncle, my grandfather, that generation was part of the greatest generation, World War II, all those things. My dad was in the military, everything. And so I went in the military and just learned hard work. And so taking those perspectives, I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to you through all the things that I've done, police work. And when I was in Cascade Locks, I was a budget committee member, planning commission, on to city council, and all those things prepared me for the state rep job that I had no idea, no intention of doing. I had, okay, just try it. And I excelled. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was, nobody's trying to kill you, at least then. Now, because you might have a different view, they might. But I ended up becoming the House Republican leader. That was never on my bingo card list to punch off. And if I can end my public service career as a senator for 1 or 2 terms, whatever that looks like, if I'm blessed with that and the voters say yes, give me that chance, because I believe with common sense, we can get some things done, getting back to the basics. And, I talked about my Back to Basics podcast, and you can like, subscribe, get it all in there. I'm going to invite you on the podcast to come and talk about the basics of government, what you seem to think needs to change and how you go about doing business. But everybody has ideas, and everybody should have a voice. And your voice may not get exactly what you wanted, but we can get something fixed, accomplished. And in the Senate, I believe I can do that. And I've got a proven track record. I will stand all day long on my track record as House Republican leader in getting Measure 110 fixed, recriminalizing drugs, holding people accountable, getting the money where it needs to go. There is more work with it. We have to make sure the money gets to the actual places it needs to go, doing the good work, not these stabbing wagons that are sitting down in Eastern or Southern Oregon just giving out free needles, thinking that's
I just saw one about Medford.
Oh,
yeah. And we've had dealt with them up here in Portland they're kind of going away, and I try to put pressure on those, because it is literally just like ice cream trucks that hand out needles and Narcan, drug supplies, and tin foil and all this.
You're just enabling people. So, that's the Back to Basics podcast. But I'm running for the Senate, and so I need people's support. And it's not just donations, but the $5, $10 donations all make a difference. But what else helps is being willing to set up and do a phone call, help those things, or endorsement, or get in front of people just to talk and have a conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
People throw darts at me all day long, like, whatever, I don't care.
No, I was going to say, I think it's a cool, I support you in that endeavor. And I think that, like, there's a lot of people, partisans on both sides, who probably may not take that approach that you do of, like, sometimes you got to work with Dan Rayfield back when that was going on. And some people are so partisan that they won't even do that. I just think that it's super helpful to know that, like, you would be doing that with a mindset of, let's get something done. Like, we're not going to just dig our heels into the point of making no progress, but you know how to work with people to.
Yeah. It's no different. Like I said, as a police officer, I knocked on your door, let's fix the problem, not come back. It could be a long-term problem. We have to keep continuing to work and nurture the get to the end result. But it's okay to talk to people. But if we start firebombing, if you look at the violence that has been perpetrated against conservative ideas when it comes to firebombing on these right to life organizations,
birth clinics or whatever.
Yeah. Well, just the
or you're just saying the orgs themselves.
The organizations themselves firebombed, in Salem, all these things that have happened, the violence against political figures on the right and left, but the right especially, because they're the ones that are getting shot and killed.
Yeah. Definitely in the recent history.
In the last 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's the far left ideology that has ensued that violence is okay. I mean, you see posts that say, well, if President Trump, it should be okay to assassinate him. Like, what are you talking? That's a sitting president.
Yeah, it is that's disgusting.
Crazy.
Like, I remember I was working at a place at the time, and people were not celebrating, but there was a lot of that, like, oh, we almost
got him.
Almost, and it's just like, it's disgusting. Like, it shouldn't happen.
There's a lot of that life, right? Don't we want life?
Yeah. And there's a lot of, like I said earlier, apologists for this type of violence and murder, and saying it's just ridiculous. It's like, no, that's never okay.
Right. All right. Let's see. You have some questions for me. What do you got?
Yeah. It's funny. I was holding this up because I have some Bigfoot questions on here.
Oh, okay.
But that's cool that you have him on there.
Yeah.
Is there like a story to that, or you just like him? Or
so the story was in 23, I think it was, the cherry industry, the fruit growers in my district, the market bottomed out. It's because of the cherry harvest in California was late. The cherry harvest in Oregon was early, and the confluence together drove the market price down.
Okay.
And they needed relief. The cherries were sitting on the trees they weren't going to pay the work. It would cost too much to harvest the cherries. How can we do that? So we were able to try to figure out emergency declaration. Couldn't do it at the state level, but we got some relief through the federal government. And I was sitting, I asked the governor the declaration and all this stuff. And there's a lot of nuance to it. But during that process, I had constituents that wanted to meet with me in the Dalles. And so I live in Hood River. I'm like, you know what? It's a good day to go fishing. So I'm going to throw the fishing rods in the back, get done here, going to go. So I got dressed, shorts, t-shirt, flip-flops. Suits are for Salem. That's my mantra. Suits are for Salem. So this is where it comes from. And so we're sitting there talking. My staff calls me, hey, Fox News wants to interview you about the cherry harvest thing and the declaration. Would you want to do it? Sure. Whatever. Where's it going to be at? Well, they're going to meet you in Hood River. They're going to be in front of this cherry orchard. All right. That morning when I got ready to go meet, I was like, man, maybe I should throw a collared shirt in the truck in case I need it for something. Nah, I don't need it. I'm just going to go fish. No big deal. I'm going to go grab the boat and go. Grab my father-in-law and his boat, and we're going to go fish. So, unbeknownst to me, I have my Bigfoot t-shirt on, just tie a roll, a big Sasquatch shirt. So I go roll out, go there, go up to the orchard, and I'm in my t-shirt, giving the interview. I was like, it wasn't the most flattering shirt, most flattering look. Like, this is who I am. I'm just a normal guy in the district talking to people, and that's just how I roll. My chief of staff lost her mind. Well, I can't believe I'm And she saw the comments and she was posting. She's like, wait a minute, you're just a normal dude. Suits are for Salem, and this is just how I roll. And so Bigfoot became part of the mantra. And so it's find me in the district. And so come find me in the district, and the Back to Basics Army, the Bigfoot thing. So that's just kind of rolled out.
That's awesome. Way. Yeah. I always ask people, I guess we could start with this one. Do you believe in Bigfoot, ghosts, or aliens?
I think there's good stuff for all those out there. I think there's unexplained things in houses and ghosts and spirits. You know what? They've tried to find the guy. There's a Bigfoot museum outside 26.
I've had Cliff on here.
Yeah, and he talked. He gave me some stuff he saw my stuff. He's like, here's a Bigfoot casting and stuff like that.
And he has actually a really scientific approach to it. I was surprised when he came on here. I was expecting it to be more like loosey-goosey or whatever, but he brings science to like all of it.
He brought all that. It's like, okay, it could possibly happen, right? I mean, hear these weird sounds, all these things. Aliens, there's they have whatever comet they say or whatever space objects moving, it's changing directions and stuff. I'm like,
you're talking about the one recently.
Yeah, the one that's right now. Yeah. It's like, you know what? There's a high probability that we're not alone. We can't be the only planet out of the whole.
For sure. Yeah.
Are they more intelligent than us? What kind of is it? I don't know. I mean, you look at, what is it? The Alien trilogy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's a possibility too.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So,
okay. Let's say you're parking somewhere like you did out here. Do you normally pull in or do you back in? Is there a routine or is it either way?
So as a police officer, I always backed in. So it's just the way it's ready to
That's
go.
what I've found with like military or people.
You
or
back in
because
the reason why is because if you back up, you're going to tend to, if you know what's behind you and you're a parking spot, you're great. If you're backing up, and I had one time as a police officer, I was backing up and I was in the middle of the parking lot and this guy was not paying attention. Boom, center punched what is going on?
I don't think I've told this maybe on the podcast, but before this car I have now had a Dodge Challenger muscle car. Mm-hmm. Only like fast car I've ever owned, but 2 weeks after I got it, somebody backed into it when it was parked.
Yeah.
And I was just like, seriously, I just got this. and whole quarter panel replacement, it costs like thousands of dollars. But yeah, I think I blame that on backing out
Yeah.
instead of backing in.
Yeah. Because you can see where you're going, right? Because
Yeah.
these new cars have cameras.
Yeah, they
everywhere.
got all the
So it's-
overhead cameras and all that.
So go back to the transportation thing, right? So people are going, don't fall out of your chair. I have a Tesla and I bought
I was going to say,
yeah, I got a Tesla. Well, when I was leader, we bought this. We had one that got damaged and it was expensive, and we got a new one, and it's the Model Y, and I like it. It's bigger and it's just more comfortable.
I like the Y too. Yeah,
The Model 3 is pretty sporty though. They're just nice little sports cars.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
fast,
It's a
but
little smaller.
oh yeah, they're quick and responsive. But when I was leader, I knew I was driving a lot of miles, and I didn't realize it. We bought it at the end of May, 1st of June, and just in that from June to November, June, July, August, September, October, November, 6 months. I put 18,000 miles in that car.
Wow.
18,000. Just driving all around the state, seeing things. And so you say, hey, sorry, I have to come out this far. I'm like, I'll drive anywhere to go have a conversation with people. It doesn't bother me.
Well, and it's also like, I always say, like, I'm just an automobile enthusiast. I like electric, I like gas cars, I like them all. Like, they're all just.
Where I was going to go with that is in that transportation bill, electric vehicles are going to start paying their fair share, which we should, because we don't buy gas. You can't charge the meter because it's too complex to figure out miles per gallon, this and that. So you're going to pay a little bit more. Okay. Then people, well, you're going to dissuade people from wanting to buy electric vehicles. Well, what roads are they going to drive them on then?
Right. And I always say they're heavier, they wear down the roads quicker, all that stuff.
It performs well in the snow. Tell you what, it's pretty neat. Anyway.
Do you like crunchy or smooth peanut butter? Maybe you don't like peanut butter.
Smooth.
Okay. Do you like the stir kind or the no stir?
No stir.
Okay. I like that. Do you have a favorite type of French fry? Do you like crinkle cut, curly fries, or all
I don't eat French fries anymore, but I like the crunchy ones.
Okay.
But back to the peanut butter thing. So obviously I work out and stuff. My favorite thing is 2% milk, ice, protein, vanilla, protein powder, and a couple blobs of peanut butter. Oh,
that's like a shake.
that's like a shake.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say
that is like a milkshake all day long, right?
I had a guy on here, my friend Harrison, who used to play minor league hockey, but he put peanut butter in his cereal, and I always thought that was interesting. I was like, I've never heard of that.
I'd put peanut butter in my oatmeal, and then like for a snack or something at night, I like is core out an apple, cut it in half, core it out, throw peanut butter in that. Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
Do you like Doritos?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite type, or do you have a favorite?
Just regular Dorito.
The Cool Ranch, the blue bag. That's what most people say. But
I just like a regular Dorito. It's
the old school.
Yeah,
yeah.
all this boutique-y stuff.
I've had someone on here bring that up, and they're like, "No, the original, like the old school bag." And
this boutique-y kind of things. But full disclosure, Juanitas, love those. Are the best.
Oh, they're
chips
good too.
Oh,
good tortilla chips. I've been asking this one. Do you like sushi at all?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite sushi roll?
I like the salmon. Just a salmon.
Okay.
Just really straight salmon sushi.
Is there an animal or creature you're most afraid of? It doesn't have to be like huge too. Like I've had people that say snakes or
rattlesnakes. I've almost been bit a couple times with rattlesnakes, but I think I do hunt. I do fish. My wife does the same thing, and the cougar population's out of control. You don't know where they're at, and they spook. My wife was able to kill a cougar a couple of years ago. Got a bear last year. The cougars and the wolves, I think, are something that's scary, and it's just not personally because you can run into them. It's like, well, you have a gun, you can shoot them. Well, if it's a
Did you ever see you saw that video of the guy a couple of years ago who was on hiking trail and it was chasing him for like a mile or whatever, and it's a scary video, but he survived.
We had a gal that got killed up here by a cougar on Mount Hood a couple of years ago. But I think there's that. Those are those ones like, oof. But you're out in nature. Guess what? If you're gonna go hang out with the apex predators, be ready for it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
But rattlesnakes, they spook me because you just don't know they're there.
Yeah, I know. Well, you hear the rattle sometimes, right?
Yeah.
I'll do one more. Do you have let's say you're getting ice cream somewhere, like Salt and Straw. I don't know. Maybe there's a good place in Hood River for ice cream. Do you go waffle cone, regular cone, cup?
Cup.
Okay. And what flavor are you putting in there?
I think there's two favorite ones, but the salted caramel is
okay.
like my top choice right there.
I always give people a chance to shout out. Is there like a local business or restaurant in Hood River you want to shout out? Is there like a good place that you like to?
So there's several good restaurants out there. The Mesquitery, that's a good steakhouse.
Okay.
And then down there at the Best Western at their restaurant that they have there right on the Columbia, they got good food, but just awesome views right there. I mean, there's the 6th Street Bistro, there's Salilo, there's all kinds of restaurants that are going to hammer you.
I don't know too much. I've been to like this nice coffee shop, and then I always see the breweries and stuff.
Oh yeah,
around there,
the
but-
breweries, you know, you got Full Sail, you've got Double Mountain, Freem, and Ferment. I mean, there's all kinds of, but shout out if you're going to ask me something like, and it's probably not on your list, but wineries, Hoodcrest Winery. It has a beautiful view of Mount Hood. And it's they have live music, really good, and then Cathedral Ridge.
Okay.
Those two right there, awesome wineries.
Shout out to them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
I was gonna say too, is that Fruit Loop thing? Is that going on right now? Or?
Fruit Loop's going on. And the other thing that's kind of cool, shout out business wise, that I just give them props. So the Mount Hood Railroad, you can take the hand cars. Well, they make them a bike car now. So they got e-assist, so you can take these little tours all the way up to the fruit company. And the same guy owns the fruit company as that. And so the story behind the fruit company, local fruits, they ships nationwide, worldwide, and they do a tremendous job. Local economy, really good. And they were selling X amount of units before the Oprah Winfrey Secret Shopper came in, and they quadrupled their shipments after that. But just a tremendous business up there. And so those are those things that in Hood River you don't know as hidden gems, but they have the the Christmas train that they do. What is that one that Tom Hanks?
It's like a holiday train. Oh, you're talking about that movie?
Yeah,
Holiday Express or something. Polar
Express. Yeah, Polar Express. The Polar Express. I mean, they do the full. We took our kids on it. Full pajamas thing. Show up in your pajamas and all that. Snow's out there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So those are some businesses I really hit up there. They're really good.
That sounds great. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Is there any, what's the best place for people to reach you and find you?
So helfrichfororegon.com is my landing page for my webpage. I get my Back to Basics Army webpage.
Yeah.
And then Instagram, Helfrich for Oregon, Jeff Helfrich for Oregon. Same thing for the Facebook, and then Twitter, same way. So, or X.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much for coming. And
hit the like, follow, smash button. I try to keep people informed. You'll see in the comments, I'll go back and forth with people and be respectful about it. But a lot of the comments like, Jeff, we really appreciate you keeping us informed, and I put out a weekly newsletter, and then I do a lot of different things, and just, you need to know what's going on. I mean, because if you don't, you're in this vacuum, and I try to educate as much as possible. No, we may not agree on everything, but let's find that common ground to get some stuff done.
Yeah, no, and it's one of the reasons I do the show too, is to get people engaged in the local political level. It's hard to do, but we need more people involved.
But people, I never would have thought I would have got into politics, like I said, but I remember watching Tom Potter, former police chief. He's the one that gave me my badge. He became the mayor, and he had these coffees with Tom.
Yeah.
And I went to a couple of them. They said, "Can I police there?" I'm like, all right, sit next to him. We start talking. And he implemented community policing at the city level, where it was like accountability. People complained about PBOT not fixing the roads, not answering phone calls. That's not acceptable. You hold them accountable. You will. These are the things you're going to do. Holy smokes.
Yeah, you can see them right there in front of you.
See them right in front of you, and he did it. And so I really appreciate that about him. He did a lot of good stuff that I think in that city that some people didn't like, and he had different ideas and took a lot of heat for it, but he tried. He's willing to stick his neck out. If you're doing stuff that people don't like, well, if half of people like it and the other half don't like it, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say he was the first mayor when I first moved here in 2006, and it's kind of unthinkable now. But yeah, he was a police. He was with the police chief who became mayor. Yeah. Yep. So. But anyway, yeah, dude, you're always welcome back.
Appreciate it.
Do this again.
Yeah, get you on my podcast. We'll look at that maybe next week or something like that. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you.